Hi guys, this is the video too for the Northern Whimsy Raven Mosaic kit. In your kit you're going to have a little cup of grout, a sponge, and a popsicle stick for the grouting portion. You have your turquoise gem that we're going to add in here at the very end. We're not going to do that until he's grouted. And then you have your cup of glue that you saved from gluing your stuff on. So what we're going to do, you're going to need some gloves also. Rubber gloves to protect your hands. Try not to cause a bunch of dust with the grout. Don't stir it up while it's dry. I have a little tub of water for my grouting so I can rinse. Be careful when you're done with your grout water. Do not rinse it down your drains. It will plug your sink drains. I'm just going to squirt a little bit, take my sponge and my water and just put a small amount in my cup here. Be really careful. You really want just a tablespoon of water and mix it up to get started. It's really easy to put too much water in your grout, so you want to start really slow and just do a couple drops at a time and stir. You're going to want it the consistency of thick peanut butter, so I'm really just going slow as I'm adding my water. It doesn't take a lot to put too much water in, so keep it in mind. Go a little more here. So there, I'm right where I want to be. So mixing it up. If you get it too wet, it's really hard to make the grout stick in between the pieces. It becomes too soupy. So I do want it a little bit thick. Getting down into those corners and getting all those little chunks from in the bottom stirred into the rest of the grout. And then I'm going to use my popsicle stick and just put the majority of this grout right on top of it. And I'll use my popsicle stick just to kind of move it around there. Scrape a little more out of my cup here. And I'll work it around. So I'm going to not only do the top of my Raven, but I'm going to go in along the sides and push that grout into those edge pieces. And actually from here, I'm going to get his feet because there's some details in here that the sponge isn't going to do a good job, but then I'm going to use the sponge to go around. So you're going to cover up all of your work, and then you're going to work to uncover it. We'll do that here in just a few minutes. Okay, so actually from here, I'm going to scrape this off, and I'm going to wring my sponge out really good. And I'm just going to use my sponge, oops. And I keep a piece of paper on the table just for helping clean up. But remember, I wrung my sponge out a lot. I did not leave a bunch of water in it. I want it to be pretty dry. But then I'm just using my sponge to push my grout into my pieces and just covering up everything. It's just a little easier on these bigger areas to use your sponge to push it down in versus your popsicle stick. So, but I am going to have to use my popsicle stick again to get in the inside of the beak there. So the idea is to push the grout in between the lines, and then when you take the grout, when you go to take it back out, or take the excess off, you're not taking it from down in your grout lines. You want to leave it in between your glass pieces. So I'm pushing down in right now. I'm not wiping off totally yet. I'm just making sure it's totally pushed down in there. And then I'm going to take that extra and start wiping it away. And I'm not putting my sponge back in my water at this point. I want to keep it as dry as possible, but using my popsicle stick to get into his beak there and fill in those cracks in his beak. And wiping off the excess. All right, now that I've got all my edges filled in with my sponge or popsicle stick, I'm going to pull away that extra. So turning it, and you're going to start seeing your pieces come back out here. So wiping the extra into my cup, not into my water at this point. I want to keep as much excess grout into this dry cup as I can versus putting it into my water bucket. Wiping away. Starting to see that shininess on his wings. An old t-shirt or rag of some kind that you can throw away at the end. Just a little piece of it, really like a 4x6 square would be fine. So I'm going to go in between his feet with my popsicle stick here and take any extra out of there. And it pulled a little bit out, so I'm going to push it back in right there. And clean up around there again. Just pushing down. Okay, so really at this point, I'm not going to set him back down in that mess right there. I'm going to clean up the back and then give him just a little bit of time to sit and dry until the top is a little bit cloudy. Okay, from here I'll just let him sit for a few minutes. Okay, so I've let him sit for just about 10 minutes, and you can see how he's gotten cloudy. So now if I just take this is just a dry t-shirt or a terry cloth rag, either one, and I'm just wiping off that cloudiness. You do that and it just buffs up that glass and cleans it up. So you're gonna have to do this again, but just get him cleaned up to the best at this point, and then let him sit again for a while. And that's gonna clean him up and really make him shine. But it takes a couple times of this process, wiping him down, to get it to where it's perfect. If you want, you can use a Q-tip if there's areas that you want to clean up like that, but for this one it's really not as necessary. Just wiping down the edges here, leaving the grout in the edge. Careful that you don't wipe away too much grout as you're going. Careful of sharp edges on the sides as you're working. But cleaning them up as you go. You can see where his wing is really starting to shine there. And then after we do this, after we get him all clean, let him sit for just a little bit. We're gonna glue in the turquoise piece. So hopefully you saved your glue from gluing on all your glass pieces. And we're just gonna put a little tiny bit of glue inside his mouth. And so at home, you're gonna wanna wait a little bit. Let him dry a little more before you do this step so that your glue and everything has a really good chance to dry. But I'm going to show you in the video here how to glue that gem in. Then you aren't going to want to move it after that. So what you'll do is take some glue, and you're going to put a little glue on each side of your gem, or either on the top and bottom of the beak. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I used my glue stick, what I planned for my glue stick for grout here. But I'm just going to take some glue and I'm going to put it at the top of his beak, right here, and I'll put some at the bottom of his beak, wherever I want that gem to sit, turquoise there, and I'm just going to get it placed in there. And luckily this glue dries clear. I'm actually going to turn it over, and just so he's holding that piece of turquoise in there. Exactly where I want it. And I kind of wedge it just a little bit with that glue. And that glue will hold it in there if you get it in the right spot. Perfect. Okay. All right, so you can see where he's in there. The glue will dry clear, so you won't see that, but I'm actually going to just take the rag and clean it up just a little bit. But make sure there's enough glue on the top and bottom of that it stays in there. But that's going to be your process, and that's going to be your finished raven. As soon as you're going to spend a little more time buffing him up so he's nice and shiny. Okay, thanks so much. I appreciate your supporting local and buying art kits. Please let me know if you have any questions or suggestions. Thank you.